Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the garage. I have a new series that I'm going to be diving into that's going to correspond to some of my favorite directors, filmmakers, new releases. And first up, I don't think anyone on YouTube or the internet has ever done a ranking of the Paul Thomas Anderson filmography. I'll be the first one to do that. Obviously, with one battle after another, not only being one of my most anticipated films of the year, but now after having seen it, I can firmly say it is definitely one of, if not the favorite of this year so far. I'm going to try something a little different on this video, but at the end of the day, it's going to be a top 10 list how I would place the movies of PTA Paul Thomas Anderson. Paul Thomas Anderson's 10th and latest film, One Battle After Another, was the first movie of 2025 that I actually gave a perfect rating to, and it inspired me to finally sit down and rank his entire filmography. What strikes me about PTA is that he seems to reinvent himself with every project, yet his signature style is always there, unmistakable. Whether it's the sprawling chaos of Magnolia, the oil-soaked grandeur of There Will Be Blood, or the off-kilter romance that we get in Punch Drunk Love, he keeps finding new ways to tell stories while still feeling like PTA. He's the master of long, fluid takes, of pulling powerhouse performances from actors, and of marrying music with image in ways that make songs hit in completely different ways forever. For me, he's never made a bad movie, not once. Now, before we dive in, there's no need to grab your pitchforks. This is just my opinion, and it's my personal ranking. PTA is one of those filmmakers where there really is not a wrong order. Like his influences such as Robert Altman, Martin Scorsese, or even more recently Quentin Tarantino, the list could change day to day. My number 1 today could be my number 7 tomorrow, and that's the beauty of it. There are all truly magnificent. Some are just speaking more loudly to me right now than others. So with that said, let's get into my personal ranking of PTA's filmography. Licorice Pizza is PTA at his loosest and most nostalgic. A freewheeling ride through the San Fernando Valley that feels like you're just hanging out with these kids, chasing dreams and bad ideas. Cooper Hoffman and Alana Haim bring such raw, unpolished energy that you can't help but be pulled along. For me, it meanders more than his tighter films, but the hangout vibe is always its magic. It's a warm, imperfect love letter to youth. PTA's debut with Heart 8 feels like a filmmaker already flexing muscles most directors don't discover until film 3 or 4 if they're lucky. It is a lean, deliberate, and anchored by Philip Baker Hall giving one of those steady, quiet performances you just can't shake. It's smaller in scope compared to what Anderson would later pull off, but the bones of his style are all here. Moral ambiguity, broken souls, and this almost musical sense of rhythm in the dialogue. It may not have the fireworks of some of his later works, but as a calling card, it is pretty damn impressive. Inherent Vice is a shaggy, messy, and borderline incoherent film at times, and that's exactly the point. PTA adapts a pension like a stoner dream you're only half awake for, with Joaquin Phoenix bumbling through paranoia, lust, and heartbreak. The mystery barely matters. It's about the vibe, the haze, and the undercurrent of loneliness. It's not his most accessible film, be sure, but one that rewards you if you surrender to its weird, smoky wavelength. Phantom Thread is a cold, meticulous romance that slowly morphs into something darkly funny and perversely twisted. Daniel Day-Lewis disappears into Reynolds' Woodcock. Vicky Krieps matches him beat for beat, and Johnny Greenwood's score practically stitches the fabric itself. It's a gorgeous, icy chamber piece, less flashy than some of PTA's other films, but quietly one of his most haunting. By the end, it leaves you disturbed, fascinated, and oddly satisfied. Few movies swing as hard as Magnolia. It's sprawling, messy, overstuffed, and somehow brilliant because of it. PTA throws together broken characters, wounded souls, and pure melodrama, then pushes it all to the edge with Tom Cruise's explosive work. To this day, I can't believe he didn't win an Oscar for this. Just look at the raw vulnerability when he visits his father's deathbed. That's just one example. It doesn't all land, but when it hits, it feels like lightning in a bottle. This is PTA. It is his most unfiltered, most chaotic and emotional, and it's utterly unforgettable. Punch Drunk Love might be PTA's tightest movie. It's a strange romantic fever dream that somehow makes Adam Sandler's bottled up rage both heartbreaking and sweet. The sound design and score are overwhelming on purpose, putting you inside Barry Egan's anxiety until love cuts through that noise. It's tender, bizarre, and in just under 90 minutes, it proves Anderson can do intimacy just as well as he can do epic sprawl. With One Battle After Another, his most recent film, Anderson delivers a full-throttle, basically war epic that still feels unmistakably his. The technical bravado is staggering, battle sequences staged with bone-rattling precision. But what really struck me is how this feels like the first time PTA truly had something topical and timely to say in our modern era. It might be his most important film, where the focus isn't just on the characters in the frame, but the entire world that they are inhabiting. PTA gets political without ever preaching, almost as if he's rewritten his filmmaking style while still making it feel ironically familiar. It's a late career swing that proves he can evolve, sharpen his voice, and still knock you flat on your ass. Few films feel as massive and mythic as There Will Be Blood. Daniel Day-Lewis as Daniel Plainview is one of the towering performances, honestly, in film history. Greed and ambition carved into flesh. PTA directs with biblical weight. From the silent opening to the milkshake finale, every frame soaked in dread and power. It's relentless, brutal, and impossible to look away from. A word that I, for one, do not throw out very often, but this is a true masterpiece of American cinema, plain and simple. The Master might be PTA's most hypnotic film, a duel between Joaquin Phoenix's feral Freddie Quell and Philip Seymour Hoffman, rest in peace, his intoxicating Lancaster Dodd. It's not a plot-driven story, but a clash of wills captured in long takes and 70mm beauty that make you feel every glance and twitch. Ambiguous, unsettling, and endlessly fascinating. This is PTA at his most enigmatic, and it lingers in your head like a half-remembered dream. This is also another performance in this movie from Amy Adams that she should have some gold for that, guys. Boogie Nights is electric from start to finish, a dizzying, heartbreaking, and darkly funny portrait of found family, and it's in the 70s porn industry. Mark Wahlberg, Julianne Moore, Burt Reynolds, Philip Seymour Hoffman again. Everyone is firing on all cylinders. Anderson moves the camera like he's dancing, pulling you into this world you can't escape. And for me, this is where PTA joined the ranks of the filmmakers I mentioned at the top, particularly Tarantino and Scorsese, in how he marries music to a scene. He doesn't just use songs we know, he redefines them. Think about that drug deal gone wrong sequence that features Alfred Molina and Sister Christian. Builds and builds until you're sweating. It's exhilarating, it's tragic, and it's the kind of film that announces a once-in-a-generation talent. For me, this is peak PTA, rewatchable as hell, emotional, and endlessly alive, which is exactly what it makes me feel every time I fucking watch it. Guys, with One Battle After Another, if you haven't done a top 10 Paul Thomas Anderson movies yet, it is the perfect time to do it because that was his 10th feature film. I just want to say, which I kind of said in my intro, he has not made a bad movie. Number 10, in this case Licorice Pizza, all the way to number 1, which was Boogie Nights on this list. The gap between those is like very small. I think I gave Licorice Pizza a 3.5 on Letterboxd, and I gave movies like Boogie Nights and The Master a 5 out of 5. So you're talking a 1.5 star, a 25 to 30% difference in terms of enjoyment level. He is one of our great storytellers in the art of cinema. I want to know what you think. Let me know down below. How off was my ranking compared to yours? What is your favorite PTA film of all time? And does One Battle After Another fall into your top 5 of PTA's filmography like it did mine? I also would love to know from channel regulars. I actually wrote a script for this video, which I never do, but I wanted to keep my commentary for each film under a minute. And I've tried so many different things. I have my phone out here as a timer. I've got a little timer on my monitor, and it never works. So I'm like, let me just write a 60-second script for each movie that kind of sums up each movie without spoiling it. That's what I did. So hopefully it's good. Let me know what you guys think of that new format. I really, really appreciate you guys tuning in. Make sure you subscribe, and do not forget that channel memberships are open as we get closer and closer to award season. I will be out here and even in my car in between work sites that I go to, talking about award season, brainstorming. Like, if you want to be a part of that, just click join down below and you can read all about it. I will see you guys out here next time in the garage.